Hey everyone, Chris here and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm here to bring to you my TBR for the Queer Lit Readathon. So it is that time again. We are in December, which means it's time for the next round of the Queer Lit Readathon. This is hosted by Kathy. I will link her channel and announcement video along with the guest host and their announcement video in the description below. In December, we do a week-long round, which I believe this year runs the 7th through the 13th. And we have this beautiful bingo board full of prompts to choose from. I have definitely doubled up because while I've been known to read 16 books in a week, I don't want to feel like I have to complete the readathon. So let's dive into the prompts. First up, we have pansexual main character. For this, I decided to read The Dandelion and the Thistle by Pip Dolan. I don't know much about this other than 1, it was on my TBR, 2, it has a pan main character, and 3, I believe it is a cozy fantasy. I actually ordered myself a copy over the Black Friday weekend from Bookshop. If you don't know what Bookshop is, it is a site that supports independent booksellers. So if you are looking for an online site to support a local independent bookstore of yours, this is a great shout. I love using Bookshop. I do it whenever I can, and every once in a while they'll have a free shipping weekend. And Black Friday was no exception. So it allowed me to get this book and not have to pay shipping. So I'm really excited to get to this one. It looked like a really cute, cozy fantasy that's going to have some romance in it. So very much looking forward to checking this one out. Then next, for Southern Hemisphere, I have decided to read Tim, Tamar, and the Subterranean Heartsick Blues by H.S. Valley. This was a previous group book from a different round of the Queer Lit Readathon, and I remember at the time it looked really interesting, but I had no way to get it. And so when this prompt came up, I knew it fit the prompt, so I decided to see if my library maybe had gotten a copy, and they do. Do I remember what this is about? No. But I do remember that at the time it looked really interesting, and I had wanted to read it and was really frustrated that I couldn't, so getting the opportunity to stick it on this TBR makes me really happy. So next up, I'm going to read Spoiler Alert, The Hero Dies by Michael Ausiello, and this is going to cover TBR Oldie and Debut. TBR Oldie was a tricky prompt for me. This had to be a book that was on your TBR for more than 5 years, and I had cleared out my Goodreads of a lot of books, so I had no way of telling which books I had been looking at 5 or more years ago. So in Storygraph, I filtered my TBR by LGBTQ+, and was just scrolling through, seeing if anything jumped out at me, and this one did. I am positive this has been on my TBR for more than 5 years because I wanted to read this book when it was first released, because at the time I was watching a lot of TV, and Michael Ausiello works for TV Line, which is a site that talks about TV shows and compiles like spoilers and premiere dates and when it's coming back from like hiatus out over the winter break, what shows have been canceled, what shows are looking good to be renewed, things like that. And so I knew who Michael Ausiello was, and when he announced he had written a book, I was interested in it. So this was the one book I was certain was on my TBR, and I got lucky because it's the only book he's written, so it's his debut book. So this ended up working out really, really well and gives me the opportunity to read a book I had forgotten was even on my TBR. Next up on my TBR is Boys Run the Riot Volume 2. I am reading this for other language and the Choose Your Own prompt, which I'm going to do as manga. I read the first book of this series for the last round of the Queer Lit Readathon because the prompt was manga, and so I decided to continue it in this one. This has a lot to do with fashion, and I'm not necessarily big into fashion, but I was intrigued enough by the first book to want to continue, and this has given me a wonderful opportunity to make sure that I'm continuing the series in 2025. So hopefully I will enjoy the second book and at some point next year finish volumes 3 and 4. Next, I picked Sparkle Boy, and I'm reading this for Picture Book. This is my favorite prompt on the entire board. I love reading picture books. I love looking at the illustrations, and I love being able to support queer authors and illustrators, especially considering how many of their books are being attacked right now for just representing queer people. So I am very curious about Sparkle Boy and how this book plays out, and I'm quite looking forward to reading it. And I love that because of this readathon, I have now found other picture books that I wasn't aware of. So I've just added a ton more to my TBR for next year. That brings me to Rainbow Flag on the cover. And for this, I'm going to read Who Was Harvey Milk. As you can see on the building behind Harvey's head are some rainbow flags. This is a Who HQ book. and that means it is a middle grade nonfiction. I know that Harvey Milk has a very important story when it comes to queer history. I've read, I believe, a picture book about him, so I'm really excited to upgrade and read a middle grade nonfiction and learn a little bit more about Harvey Milk during this round of the Queer Lit Readathon. Next, we have Make You Mine This Christmas, which I'm reading for season because it is a holiday book that I'm going to be reading in December. This is a romance, and I know the author of this book is the same person who wrote Vivi Conway, and I really, really love that series. I also do love a good Christmas romance, so while I don't really know what's going on in this book, I'm excited because I've really enjoyed other works by this author, and because I like this type of romance book, I'm hoping that that will be a winning combination. Next, for fantasy, I'm reading Guarding Gus. This is a cozy fantasy, and it's going to follow two people who are tasked with guarding Gustifer, who is a gargoyle. I have wanted to get to this one for a while, and it worked out, so it combined a book I was reading for Buzzwordathon with the Queer Lit Readathon, and I love when I can double up like that, so very, very excited about this one. Next, I combined detective and historical fiction to read Rough Pages. This is the third book in the Evander Mills series. So this series follows Andy, and he gets caught in a raid, and it turns out he's gay, so he loses his job on the police force, and in the first book ends up starting his kind of private detective career. So I thought this was a good way to combine historical fiction and detective and allow me to continue a series. I really enjoyed the first two books. I really like Andy as a main character and the relationships he's built, so I'm curious to see how those come into play in book 3 and maybe some new relationships that Andy develops along the way. Then I combined middle grade and bookish by choosing The Lonely Book. I'm going to be honest, not a clue what this was about. This was me looking for different books and realizing that there were books on this cover and it was middle grade, so it worked for this prompt. I'm going into this one blind, but fingers crossed, I love it. Next up, we have 16 Letters, and I chose All of Us Murderers, and I tasked myself to find one that was exactly 16 letters. This is a recent, I believe, Book of the Month purchase of mine, and I believe our main character is going to be going to, like, his grandfather's, and I think it has something to do with an inheritance, and he doesn't really care, but they get locked in the mansion, and so he and an ex are going to have to figure out how to get out, and I think there's, like, a spooky element to it. I had a lot of options that were over 16 letters, but I really, really wanted to hit 16 letters exactly, so my options were slim, and since I owned this one, I figured it made more sense to go with this one. So we'll see whether the kind of spooky vibes work for December reading when I really just want to be reading Christmas romances. And then lastly, we have BIPOC nonfiction, and I'm going to read Hijab Butch Blues. This is another one I don't know anything about. I saw this as a recommendation, I believe, on Instagram for like a queer nonfiction. And when I was glancing at it, I realized it would fit the prompt. So I decided to see if I could get it from my library, and I could. So I figured, why not give this one a try? It's got some pretty decent ratings, so I'm hoping that I really enjoy it. So there you have it. That is my Queer Lit Readathon TBR. A lot of books I'm going to be going into blind because it's either been so long since I've read what they were about, I don't remember, or they are so new to me that I haven't really retained that information yet, and I'm kind of really looking forward to going into these blind, which is why I didn't get into a lot of the details on what was going on with these books, because I thought it would be fun to just kind of pick a book and see how it clicks with me in the moment. I love partaking in the Queer Lit Readathon every single year. I want to thank Kathy for hosting. I want to thank all of the co-hosts, past and present, for getting involved and helping Kathy and Rogan out. This is legitimately one of my favorite readathons. I love finding so many different queer books because I absolutely scroll the story graph to find different books and see what other people are reading for these prompts. I love watching TBR videos where people are talking about what they're going to read. So this is definitely in my top readathons of the year. Are you taking part in the Queer Lit Readathon week-long round? If so, let me know what you chose for your choose your own prompt. All of my social media is linked in the description below if you'd like to come chat with me. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me rainbow emojis, like this video, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!